And welcome to the head trash clearance party. Now that you've had your party guide, I just want to talk you through it in case you have any questions, and also just to maybe deal with any potential questions that might come up as a result of you now having a browse through it. So basically what you've got inside your party guide are everything you need to do 7 days of head trash clearance. And so what do you need to do to clear some head trash? What you need to clear some head trash is you need to know what you're clearing. And I've come up with 7 things to clear each day. And I've identified 7 things that I know everyone will benefit from clearing. And you might look at the things I've put on the list and go, well, I don't need to work on that. And I would just ask you to do it anyway and approach this with an open mind, because there are lots of surprises lurking in the recesses of your mind. And I know this from the years and years of experience I have of clearing head trash and working with my clients. You know, there's sometimes we work on stuff and they kind of look at me and go, really? And then after they get so many aha moments and insights from clearing that thing, and things really shift for them. So yes, I just ask you to park all judgment and to just go in with an open heart and an open mind and just do your 7 days of clearance, okay? If one of the things on the list that I've shared with you is something that you've already done because you have got your head trash clearance badges all over your arm and you've ticked loads of stuff off, then if that's you, then you've probably know what to do, and therefore just come up with another clearance that's going to replace the one that you've already done, okay? You know what's going on here, so you can just crack on and come up with something else. So the first thing you need when you clear head trash is you need to know what you're clearing. So I've sorted that out. It's all sorted. It's on the list. Okay, I've come up with it, and we're doing one thing each day. Then the other thing you need to do your head trash clearance is you need the head trash clearance mantras. Now this is basically like a script that you need to repeat. This is like words, mantras. I call them mantras because they are repeatable phrases that you say to yourself to do the clearance. I've written all that out for you already, so you don't need to worry about the head trash clearance mantras because they are in the party guide and you can read them all for yourself. And I've written these specifically to suit each thing that we're clearing. If you've got my book, Clear Your Head Trash, then my book teaches you how to construct these mantras yourself. Now, I do keep things very simple in the book because I want to make sure that people are able to understand and crack on with clearing their head trash. So in these mantras, you might think, oh, she's gone a little bit off topic in her mantras. No, that's because I'm just adding more into them and making them a little bit more potent based on what we're clearing, okay? So don't worry about that. But if you have got my book, then you know what's going on here. You get it. You understand what's going on, and it's all fine, okay? So the mantras are provided in the party guide. The other thing you need to be aware of when you're clearing head trash is you need to put your hands in a certain position on your head. This is called the Tat Position, and I'm going to show it to you right now. There's a diagram in the party guide, so the diagram's there for you to check, but I'm just going to go through that with you now. Now, what you need is your thumb and your ring finger pinching the bridge of your nose right here, and then your middle finger, this one, in the middle of your forehead on your third eye. So you're basically doing that, okay? The other hand goes around the back of the head. This is the Tat Position. Either hand will do, okay? So you have your mantras on the one hand, and then you have the Tat Position on the other, okay? And then when you're clearing your head trash, you need to have your mantras in front of you, and you repeat them to yourself. So I'm going to use day 1 as an example. So on day 1, we are working on getting things wrong. Now I put this one first because a lot of people don't do clearance because they're worried about getting it wrong, right? So I thought, yes, let's just shoehorn this one out of the way and clear it first. And also a lot of people are worried about getting things wrong in life and all of that. So that's what the first one is. So you'll see that the mantras kick off with getting things wrong is wonderful, getting it wrong is fabulous. Now those two things are very similar, right? Getting things wrong is wonderful, getting it wrong is fabulous. So I'm just phrasing it slightly differently, right? Because some people think to themselves, oh, getting things wrong, I hate getting it wrong, I hate getting things wrong, I hate getting it wrong. I don't know, which word do you use? Do you use it? Do you use things? Well, it's important because it kind of, the language you use is almost tagged in your subconscious. So I want to make sure we're kind of catching all ways that people might say this themselves, okay? So with that one, this is one set because I've put these 2 lines together in the script. And then I leave a gap, and then there's another 2 lines. So that pairing of those two lines, well, let's just call those a group of mantras, okay? And depending on the thing that we're clearing, there might just be one line on its own, there might be two lines, or there might be three lines. So they're a group, whether there's one or three, okay? And you want to just repeat these mantras, sit with them repeat them 10 times, 15 times for the group, or repeat it for a minute. That's basically what you're doing. So I'm just going to show you exactly what that looks like. And you're going to be doing it while your hands are in the Tat position. So I'm going to put my hands in the Tat position, and I'm going to be saying, getting things wrong is wonderful. Getting it wrong is fabulous. Getting things wrong is just wonderful. Oh, getting it wrong is fabulous. Getting it wrong is wonderful. Getting it wrong is fabulous. Getting things wrong is just wonderful. I love getting things wrong. Getting things wrong is wonderful. Getting things wrong is wonderful. You see, I'm just repeating those two phrases over and over again. And I'm going to just repeat them up until I've done that for about a minute. And once I've done that for a minute, I move on to the next group, which in here is I love getting things wrong, I love getting it wrong. And then I'll be like, oh, I love getting things wrong, I love getting it wrong, I love getting things wrong. And this is where you can have fun, right? Just play with the theatrics. Use, like, I love getting things wrong, I love it, I love it, I love it. Even though in your head you're like, no, I hate getting things wrong. Really push yourself through this, because when you're screaming in your head, no, I hate getting things wrong, that's your resistance. And what we're doing here by repeating it for up to a minute or even up to 2 minutes is you're beating down your resistance. So eventually in your head you'll be like, oh yeah, actually I don't mind getting it wrong. Yeah. The resistance will just give up, completely give up, and that part of your head will just quieten. And then you move on to the next one. Now, what might also happen when you're doing these mantras is you might start crying, or you might start getting a twingy elbow, or you might start getting, your breathing gets really tight, and you can't, and you stop breathing. All these weird things might happen. I yawn. I do these hippo yawns when I'm clearing. And suddenly my lower jaw just drops and goes like, oh, like the biggest yawn I can imagine. And then my eyes start streaming, right? So I don't cry as in, I don't cry like that. But I literally have streaming eyes. Mine get a bit snotty, and I do big yawns. Everybody's different, okay? But those are things that could happen. And this voice in your head, the resistance is like, no, I hate getting things wrong, stop saying that. And then that will weaken, okay? And then you move on to the next one. And so that's how it goes then. Okay, so the next one on here is getting things wrong is terrible. Getting things wrong is terrible. Getting things wrong, yeah, that's more like it. Yeah, I agree with that, yeah. Oh, look. See, there's a yawn coming in. See, I probably should do this clearance right now. I'm getting things wrong. That's what I mean. That's the kind of thing I get, right? So then you repeat it until, and if you find that these yawns come up, then just let them come. Just let that kind of stuff happen. And then once you get to a point where you're feeling calmer, where there's the voice in your head's not screaming anymore, you're no longer crying if crying's come up for you, or you're no longer tingling, whatever may have been happening, it's stopped, then you can move on to the next mantra or the group, okay? So you just work through each pairing or group, repeat it, stay with it for a minute, and then to the next one, okay? And you just work your way through the whole script in that way, the whole set of clearing mantras in that way. And that's basically what the clearing process looks like, okay? Now, there is a 5-step process to go through, which I've also outlined in the party guide, but that's all in there, hopefully self-explanatory. But I just wanted to dive in and explain more about the mantras bit, because people do get in a bit of a tiz over that and try and overcomplicate it. It's not more complicated than simply reading this stuff out, repeating it, and just moving on to the next one. Okay? And then you've got, the other thing I do just want to talk about as well is, for this day one is, the first bit is getting things wrong. What's really important as part of this process is opposites, and we need to balance opposites. Everything, we live in a polarized world, in a world of duality, and in order for us to create neutrality, which is what we're doing, neutrality is when you have no energy, no sort of, you feel it's not you feel neutral about something, but you just, yeah, you're okay, you could do it, you could take it or leave it, you're just not bothered by it. So getting things wrong, yeah, I'm okay getting things, I'm going to get things wrong, so what if I get it wrong? I'll learn from my mistakes, it's fine. And then getting things right, yeah, some people are like, I've got to get it right. And this time it's like, well, if I get it right, great. If I don't, well, I'll get it wrong, okay. And you just approach things with a nonchalant kind of like, well, of course I want to get it right, but if I don't, it's no big deal. Whereas up until while you've got charge around that, you'd be like, oh, I've got to get it right. What if I don't get it right? I'm going to look like such an idiot. I'm going to be a failure. It's going to be a nightmare. They're going to think I'm a twat. And all this comes in, right? That's the head trash. That means you have a lot of charge around this idea of getting things wrong. Whereas when you're in neutrality, you're like, well, if I get it wrong, doesn't matter. I'll deal with it. I'll cope, and I'll just try again. That's the neutrality point, and that's what we need to get to. But you can't get to neutrality if you've only worked on clearing the energy at one end. You need to also clear the energy at the other end. That's where the opposites come in. So obviously, once you finish going through getting things wrong, you've got to work on getting things right? And that's the next set of mantras that I've provided. So one whole clearance is doing both sides, okay? And that's why it's going to take you up to 45 minutes to do a clearance, because it's usually 15 to 20 minutes for one side, and then you need to do the other side, which is about 15, 20 minutes again, right? And that's what it is. Now, the one thing as well that I want to talk about is the tuning in. So step 2 of the process, again, it's all in the guide. So if you're like going, what the hell is she on about? I'm lost now. Look at the guide that I've put in the group. Step 2 is about tuning in to the thing. So let's stick with the example of getting things wrong. If you've really got an issue with getting things wrong, and it really kind of stresses you out, the idea of getting things wrong, then when you tune in to getting things wrong, you might be going, oh, I can't get things wrong, and you might feel a bit tightness of chest, you might get a bit tension here, you might notice the tension here, and you might frown, you might feel a bit of headache coming in, and you're like, oh no, and then you remember that time that your dad, when you were 5, had a real go at you for getting it wrong, and you never want to get things wrong again because he's going to shout at you, and all that stuff comes wading in, right? And when you tune into that, how does that make you feel? All of that stuff, the mental images, the physical feelings, all of that is going to have a level of intensity about it. What I want you to do is put a number on that intensity. So out of 10, 10 being like really bad. Now, you can do 15 out of 10 if you want, I don't mind. If that's how it really explains things for you, then do that. But give it a number, because afterwards you're going to be giving it a number again. And this is going to help you to measure the difference of the clearance work that you're doing. Usually the numbers go down. Not seen them go up, but if they do, then you need to jump in the group and tell me what's going on so I can help you to make sure we see these numbers go down. But numbers are a really good way for you to see the results that you're having. You know, if you know that you've gone from a 10 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10 in 20 minutes, you're like, wow, this is 20 minutes well spent, right? And therefore that kind of feeds you and helps you to keep going with the work that you're doing. So that's why it's really important to do the tuning in bit. And what's also really important about the tuning in, you know, if you think about, if I tune into getting things wrong now, and I get really emotional, I can't even think about getting things wrong. Obviously, people may not feel that way about getting things wrong, but they might feel that way about death, for example, or loss, you know. And then you do a clearance, then afterwards you desperately try to cry again, thinking about it, and you can't. You're like, well, I was crying about this 10 minutes, 15 minutes ago. Why can't I cry about it now? That shows you that you've managed to clear this emotional energy that's been really unhelpful for you and clogging up your system. Okay, so the tuning in bit is really, really important. Okay, so if you have any more questions about anything before you kick off your clearance, or even as a result of once you started your clearance, please post questions in the group, because that's what I'm here to do. I want to make sure that you understand what you're doing, you're getting the results you want, and that you're able to, you know, make progress with learning a new tool that can really, really help you in your emotional health and your mental health. Okay? That's it for me. I will see you in the comments. Bye.